Hello future tech leaders, I'm Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
I was supposed to take care of the taxing taxes part, how to set up taxes and everything. I will do that today. I was actually showing you the subsidiary structure, how a subsidiary is created. We have created a test subsidiary. Let's get rid of that test subsidiary. We don't need that anymore. So you go to edit training test. Let's get rid of this subsidiary. There are no transactions on the subsidiary, so you will be able to delete it. If there are any transactions listed, then you cannot delete a subsidiary which is created. Any transaction. For that matter, if you have let us say you have a purchase order, a sales order or a work order related to the subsidiary or any vendor is created and listed under the subsidiary. Even then, you will not be able to delete any subsidiary. I was also showing you the three-way bill match. So I have shown you the three-way bill match on the subsidiary and the vendor. Likewise, you can define your three-way bill match on your items as well. So if you go into the inventory item, go to your purchasing inventory, and if you scroll down, you'll see this. There is a three-way bill match tolerances that you can set up at the item level as well. Now, how does this work? So if you have defined it at the subsidiary level, the three-way bill match. If you have defined it at the subsidiary level, this is the highest level of your setting of the tolerances. So if you set up at the subsidiary level, no matter which vendor you're dealing with under that subsidiary, no matter what item you're selecting for a vendor of that subsidiary, the three-way bill match automatically triggers if there is a difference between the purchase order item receipt and the vendor bill. So just in case, if you define it at the subsidiary level, now if you define it at the vendor level, the three-way bill match at the vendor level, you have removed it from the subsidiary. You're not considering the subsidiary, but you are defining the tolerances on the vendor level. When this happens, any item that you select for these vendors, you can actually, let us say you have 100 vendors under the subsidiary. However, you have defined the three-way bill match only for 50. So, if you are doing the transactions with these 50 vendors only, then it triggers a three-way bill match. For the other 50 vendors, it will not. But if you define it at the subsidiary level, it triggers it for all the 100 subsidiaries all the 100 vendors which are listed under the subsidiary. So the three-way bill match can be defined at the item level as well, just like the way I have shown it to you. So now let us say out of 1000 items, you have defined it for only 500 items, the three-way bill match. So in this case, irrespective of the vendor you're selecting, irrespective of the subsidiary you're selecting, if you are selecting these 500 items only, then the three-way bill match triggers. For the other 500 won't. But if you define it at the subsidiary, all the 100 vendors it will trigger and all the 1000 items it will trigger. No matter if you have selected only 500 here and only 50 here. It doesn't matter if you are defining the tolerances at the subsidiary level, because I'll tell you what. On a vendor, the reason. I'm just giving you a reason on this. The vendor is created, and on the vendor there is a subsidiary selection that you have to do any vendor that you create. Let us go to the relationships and I go into the vendors. Now, if I have to create a vendor, then the subsidiary selection is a mandatory field. I will have to give a primary subsidiary. You see this. The primary select subsidiary has to be selected on a vendor. So I am giving the 3-way bill match on the Australia primary subsidiary. And no matter what company I am selecting, it will obviously bring up those 3-way bill match from the Australia subsidiary, all the tolerances from the Australia subsidiary. So, likewise, if you are doing the 3-way bill match tolerance at the vendor level, then it doesn't matter what subsidiary you are selecting. Even if you're not defining at the subsidiary level, if you are defining at the vendor. So if you are selecting this vendor on a purchase order, then obviously it will trigger the 3-way bill match. So on a vendor, you will select the subsidiary. On a purchase order, you will select the vendor. Hope this concept is clear. Subsidiary is linked on the vendor. A vendor is linked with the purchase order. So here, what you will do when you're creating a purchase order, you won't select the subsidiary. You will just select the vendor, and based on the vendor, the subsidiary defaults because the subsidiary is already selected on the vendor. You see, this Canada, the bread supplier vendor, has got Canada as the subsidiary. And that is the reason it is defaulting. You will not be able to change this. It is only Canada. You will not be able to give any other subsidiary for this particular bread supplier as a vendor. So that is the reason. If you're defining the 3-way bill match on the vendor, then it triggers from the vendors only. Likewise, if you're defined. So, in a broader way, if you have 1000 items and if you want to define the 3-way bill match on all those 1000 items, you just define it at the subsidiary level. There's only one place that you define on the subsidiary, and automatically all the 1000 items will get triggered from that subsidiary. But if you do not want a 3-way bill match to be on certain vendors, like out of 500, you want it only on 2 to 50, then you define it at a vendor level and not the purchase order level. I'm sorry, at the subsidiary level. Hope that concept is clear. So we are done with the subsidiary creation. Now we will see how the departments, locations and classes are created. This is pretty straightforward. This is pretty straightforward departments. All you got to do is click on New Department. You name your department and you can have a parent company for the department as well. So what we'll do is engineering. What we do is, let us say we will go into the sales, support professional products. Let us say products. Let's get into the products, and we are saying products is a sub-department of my engineering. I can select the parent, and when I save it automatically, what happens? This will become a I'm saying that my products is a child of engineering. So this is how you can create the department, and this see all these things. the subsidiaries, depart house class, apartments, and all this is the information which will be provided to you by your client. You don't have to make up anything. You don't have to think, you don't have to suggest to the clients asking them, suggesting that it's better you have an administration department, it's better you have an HR department. You can have your IT department. No, the customer will tell you what are the different departments and what are the parents and what are the children. You just have to create them accordingly. Same is the case for locations as well. You can create your sublocations. So if you get into one of the locations, you can, if you mark this as make inventory available, then we are making this a physical warehouse wherein the products are already available. There's a subsidiary, there's a location type, and then you can select this to make this location as inventory available. So for the document number prefix, I've already specified what is the document number prefix. So you can specify what is a document number prefix over here. And then in the auto generated numbers, you can say, I want the location as the document number prefix. So it picks up CA first and then POR as a suffix for purchase order, maybe 1001 as the number. So it will be CAPUR 1001. That will be the document number which gets generated for your purchase order. The first document number, from there on it just continues CAPUR 1002, CAPUR 1003. So that's how it continues. And then it just keeps clocking the numbers like that. That's what about your location. Now coming to classes, same thing. You just have to click on new class and then you will define what is a new class. You just name it. And one important feature, guys, remember anything, even if it's a department or or a location or a class, you can actually say that. A location can be created only for one subsidiary. However, the departments can be created for multiple subsidiaries. So you can edit this and say parent company. You can say that this is a subsidiary and then include children. If you click on this, include children, this particular department would be available for all the subsidiaries as a selection. It doesn't confine only to one subsidiary, but it's up to you. It's up to the client. They can say that, this department has to be confined only to the Australian subsidiary and do not include children. You can do that as well. You can save it and say that this is available. Only for this you can remove subsidiary because this record is used on a transaction. You see this? This is already used on a transaction. So that is the reason you cannot remove it from United States West is what it's saying. So what I can do is probably I can scroll down and say this is confined only to the United States West. So it will. It is confined only to the one United States West subsidiary. However, since you already have a transaction on that, what you can do, you can include children and say that it is available for the other subsidiaries as well. Whenever you're doing the transactions with the vendors which have other subsidiaries on them, then obviously you will be able to select the other subsidiaries as well. Likewise, the same holds good for classes as well. So you can create this is a class that I'm creating and I select class A as one of my parents and then I'm including the children along with my parents, subsidiary. So once I say class is inactive, there is an option for class inactive as well. So this is what I have created now. And for any transaction that you do on NetSuite, guys, remember there will be an internal ID that gets generated. Any transaction that you are doing, if you are creating a purchase order, a sales order, a transaction on the work order, a class, department, location, subsidiary journal entry, whatever you're creating on NetSuite, that will generate an internal ID automatically. So whatever is the next internal ID, that gets picked up. So if I show inactive, there are no inactive locations as of now, but I can make this inactive. I can click on this submit and that's inactive now. And if I remove this show inactive, that will go. It will not show up because that is inactive. Any questions on this? Yes. Tell me. So this internal ID is just created by the NetSuite. We can't do any editing. No, you cannot. Good question. So you cannot do anything with the internal IDs. However, when you are creating the locations, departments or classes through a CSV import, there is something called as CSV import. I will show you what that is a little later on. So let us say if you have 4 or 5 classes, you will create manually clicking on new class, new class, new class. But if they have 50 classes, what will you do? You cannot waste your time by clicking on new class for those 50 locations and keep on adding. In that case, there is something called a CSV import. So I'll discuss this. Once I'm done with the master data, we will get into the importing of multiple records, how this is done. I will take a session on that a little later on, but for now just understand that you can create external IDs through this CSV imports. Just like the way you have the internal ID, you also can have an external ID as well. And that external ID can be created only when you create the master data or any data migration. When you're doing the data migration through a CSV import, there is an external ID field that can be created. Now, where can you find that external ID? So on every screen. If you go into the list, this is a list, guys. You can click on this list and it will take you back to the list here. On every screen, if you see, I can go back to the list again. There is something called as customized view. So what you can do is you can click on this customized view. You might ask me that when you go inside a location, there are so many fields that you see here, but you're not able to see that in the list over here. You are able to see the internal ID, name, phone, city, state, province, and country only. So if you want to see more fields and if you want to delete certain fields from here, from the list, what you can do is you click on your customized view and then you can bring up the fields over here. So here I will remove the phone. I don't need the phone. I will remove this and then I can add a row and I would say that let us say I need the external ID. This is what I was looking for, and then I would need subsidiary. I would need the subsidiary for this location. And then I would also need my make inventory available option. If it is checked or not, I have to see, and then I can also pull in. There are some user fields that you can pull out as well. So what are user fields? You can click on this user fields and this will display the user fields that you have over there. What are these? You have your alternate email. You have your alternate email, the attention, the billing address, and all these things are the user fields that you have within that. So you can pull those things as well. The contact information, you have the date created. When is this location created is what it is. So I can pull out these fields and then I can save this view. I have the make inventory available, which is yes, yes, yes and no for only one location that I can see us to, because this is not a physical warehouse. And that's the reason they have marked it as no. So this particular location will not be available when you are actually creating a purchase order, because make inventory available is set to no. What is the date created and who created? This can also be pulled out, so let us see that. Result. And by the way, what I'm showing you now is a saved search. Now then, you had a question on the saved search. How exactly you want to do this? So this is exactly what is done as part of the saved search. And one more question, sir. With the ID, we can know it is manually created or it came from CSV file. Zach, you can do that. So internal ID is what the system creates and external ID comes from the CSV. But if I create it manually, then the external ID option will not come in. You understood that? Good. So if you create manually internal ID exactly, who created it? Hold on. Last modified it by. I think that will be a field called last modified. You see this. If you click this, it will display who has last modified it, but who created it is what we need. Hold on. Let us see if that is available. Date created is there. User is not there. But I think there will be an option if I go into System Info nodes. Hold on. Is there a System Info? System Modes field. So I go into System Modes field and I see set by. And add this. Now we will see who has created this location. That information will be, you see this quote ready. This is the person who has set up the locations. So there's one more thing here. Why are we getting so many locations? The reason behind that is Mohan Electronics is one location and no, it cannot be a. So whatever has been modified on that Mohan Electronics, everything is being displayed over here since we have selected it as set by. Whatever the changes have been done, that is the reason it is displaying it as the system. So let's remove this. So now there are 3 tabs over here in the saved search. One is a results. The other one is available filters and the other one is search title transaction. So if you click on this available filters, so you can set up this as a filter. Maybe the name. You can show it as filter. And I'm saying that I have to show in filter region. Instead of name, let's take city. I think. So I'm saying that I have to show it as in the filter region as well. So I click on save. So what happens now? If you see this, the city is showing up as a filter. Now for me. So I don't know what the city is mentioned, but I can actually specify what is my city over here. And then it just filters out the locations based on those city. Any questions on that? will take the name itself. So here you will have the name as a filter. Now you can filter it by that. So always you can edit view, go in, pull all the fields that you want to have. And if you click on more options, so there are more options that you can actually do that as well. So if you scroll down, this is the results tab and this is the criteria. If you click on criteria, you can add a filter again. Let's say by A. So starts with C. I have set up a filter already and I'm saying that I want to start it by C. So if you preview this now, only the locations with C will be available. The other locations will not be there. So that's a filter that we have already created. So if you see, only the locations starting with A will be available. So likewise, you can define what your criteria is. So you can define what is your criteria and you can filter out the options. You can set up what is the criteria like date. You can also specify date after created. You know after this date how many locations have been created, so on and so forth. All these things can be done. Now the other option is if you click available as reminders. So I have set it up as available for reminders. I'm showing this in the menu and also I'm making it available as dashboard view also. So what happens when you do that? You save this. So when you go back to your reminders, hold on. When you click on the dashboard, there's something called as reminders. So here, if you want to set up reminders, you will have the saved search available as one of the criteria that you can set up. Where is that? Where is that? What was our saved search option? Actually, you see this. So I can select this, remove all the others and then save. So when I do that, you know there are 11. Now see, this is a location saved search that we have created, but you can create a purchase order saved search. You can create a sales order saved search and then you can define how many number of open purchase orders are there. How many number of open vendor bills are there. So all these things can be done. So you can set it up. You can set up this particular saved search as a reminder for you and you can click on that. So why was it available as a reminder? Because I have selected on the saved search. I have selected it as show. I mean make it available for reminders. That is the reason it's available over there. The other option that we have selected is, if you remember, showing the menu. So if you go to reports, save searches. You click on that. It'll take you back to the same again. I mean that is the saved search that we are making it available. And also as a dashboard view. Also, we made it available wherever you want to make it as available in the personalized option. You will have the saved search available. Whenever you go to the custom records, you can pull that out as a saved search and publish on the dashboard as well. So I can go to the reports, save searches, saved search and click on edit this search once again. That is one thing. So show for available for reminders, we have selected. Showing menu, we have selected. Available for dashboard, we have selected, and as a list view also be selected. So the list view also will be available. So if you go here and then search, we'll have to go into see where you have this option. You see this? It is available as a list view as well that we have created now. So these are the different options on a saved search. It is called as a saved search. Now what is this public? What does this public do? As long as I uncheck this public coder ID is the only owner for the saved search and I'm the only person who can view that. However, if I want to make it as public and I want the others to see as well, then I click on save, public, and then save this. So once I save it, it will be available for everybody as in the reminders, in the dashboard, in the list view, in the show menu. It will be available for everybody. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.